what I've noticed when I'm dealing with I've dealt with a lot of businesses now over the last kind of 5 years, and there's five really kind of major constraints that prevent businesses from growing, right? That I've seen anyway, in my experience, right? Let's just go through it. So the first one is business model and strategy. So in other words, having the right business model and the right strategy, in other words, a prioritized plan, think about it like that, is kind of important if you want to make money, if you want to be successful in business. The next one is cash, right? Really simple. Not enough cash, not good for anybody. It's tough to run a business without much cash. The next one is people. Then we've got acquisition. Now, acquisition, when I talk about acquisition, I kind of combine sales and marketing, right? In other words, acquisition is the process of bringing on new clients. The last one is operations and implementation. And here's something I've noticed, right? So there's really two ways then to grow a business. Okay, so if I look at all of those, by the way, when you look at those, can you get some idea just by looking at those 5 things of which one you think is holding you back right now? And it might be multiple. Who thinks they've got an idea?
My wife reckons people.
Okay, that's cool. All right.
As we don't have any people.
Is that your wife giggling?
Yeah, up to the side, yeah.
Oh, right. She hasn't introduced herself.
Oh, Maddie.
No.
All right. It's the end of the day. She doesn't want to be on camera.
Okay, not happening. All right, cool. Yeah. Well, not having any people is probably, maybe that is a constraint. Yeah. But can everyone, like, this has been a really interesting model because after I've created this, it's actually, I can speak with clients, and I speak with clients in our altitude program all the time, and I'm like, all right, so which one are we working on today? You know, Corey's kind of experienced this, haven't you, Corey? And it's a really it's a really interesting model because it helps you to just identify where the current constraint is.
Mm. And also, like, how much, underlying issues on, say, your business model and strategy. Cash is the obvious one. That was my instance. But by fixing up one step before it, we're now moving that cog so much faster.
True. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, so there's 2 ways to deal with this, right? And so let me put it this way. So the business can only grow, right, to the size of the the biggest constraint. So in other words, if the business is constrained right down in one area, right? So let's say you've got a people constraint, right? Then the business is not going to grow larger than that people constraint. If you've got a cash constraint, business is not going to grow larger than the cash constraint, right? Is that making sense? So it's a really interesting way to look at a business. Okay, it's been very helpful. So, so there's 2 ways that you can fix this, that you can actually grow your business. The first one is you improve the conditions. So if you look at this and you think about it like a pipe, like a pipeline, right? It's like, well, bigger pipe, more flow, right? And so if you expand everything out, you'll get more flow, right? And so that is optimizing effectiveness and creating more leverage, right? So optimizing effectiveness of each piece and creating more leverage. And the second one, of course, is just to remove the constraints, right? Now, generally, I recommend to look at what the constraints are, remove constraints first before. I think a lot of people will try to go, oh, let's optimize conditions for, I don't know, let's call it acquisition, right? And this is the I need more leads, by the way, right? Let's optimize acquisition. So let's get a ton of leads. But then what happens when you got a ton of leads, but you don't have a really good sales process, or you don't have the people to deliver it? What happens?
You miss out on quotes.
Miss out on quotes. And who else said something?
Under deliver,
right? So all those things start to happen. Okay. So what I want you to do is now, just even if you just note next to the constraints, what you can see as being the biggest constraints for you. And as we move through this stuff, that'll be helpful, right? I'm just kind of trying to get you guys to think more and more and more, right? So removing constraints is all about minimizing limitations and deficiencies, right? So you're minimizing constraints or minimizing limitations, but you want to, and what I would suggest is remove as many of the constraining pieces as you can. So remove as many of the constraints as you can, and then improve conditions after that. If you try to improve conditions in any area, but you've got a massive constraint, then it just doesn't work still. It's a very different way to look at business. Cool. Making sense? Cool. What do you think of this one compared? Travis, this wasn't in last time, mate. Is it helpful?
Yeah, no, it's good.